Hello, my name is Ása and I'm back with another lesson in the course Lærum Íslensku or Let's Learn Icelandic. Today I'm going to talk about the letters B and the letter P, B and P, and overall I would say that these are fairly simple. So let's just start. Samhljóðar, let's go. The letters B and P in Icelandic are quite similar to most other languages, I would say. Just to show you how they sound, I'm going to start with a word that has each one of them. The words bar and par. So with a B you have this more closed sound, bar, bar, which means like place that you go out for a beer, a bar, same meaning as in English. But if you have a P in front, it's par, par. And this means a couple. So par with the P has a more H sound to it, it's more breathy, and it goes like par. Bar with a B and par with a P. Then we can have double consonants of both of these sounds. One very useful example is the word pappi, pappi. So this means dad in Icelandic, and now we have the P in the front, but we have the double B, and the double B sort of stops the breath, so there's no exhalation of any breath while we say the double B. So it's pappi, pappi. On the other hand, we can also have a word that has two P's instead of two B's, and that is the word pappi, pappi. And this means cardboard, like in cardboard box. If we would say a cardboard box, we would say pappakassi. As you can hear, once we use the double P, there's a lot of breath that comes with it. Like I mentioned before, Icelandic is a quite breathy language, and I think this is especially true when you have double P, double T, or double K. Then we really bring it all out and we say pappi, pappi. I hope you now understand quite well the difference between those two, but let's talk about them in a little bit more detail, not too much, but just a little bit. So if we bring up B again, B, this letter is the most common in the beginning of words in Icelandic. It does exist in the center of words or at the end, but it's quite rare unless it's a composite word. So at the moment, honestly, I cannot think of a single word that has a B in the middle of it, a single B in the middle of it, and is not a composite word. So almost like more than 90%, more than 95%, you can say that if you see a single B in the middle of the word, then this word is a composite word, and where the B starts, this is where a new base word of the composite word starts. So one example of this is, for example, samband, samband. So samband means relationship, and sam means together, and band, sorry I'm pronouncing this in English, but band means a band in English, like a bond, so it's like together bond. This is what we call a relationship, samband. But there's a lot of words in Icelandic that starts with B. I think especially, maybe it's just my feeling, but it feels like a lot of verbs starts with B. And some examples of this is, for example, að byrja, which means to begin, and also the verb að brjóta, which means to break. But there are many words. So to summarize, B is the most common at the beginning of word or the beginning of a base word in a composite word. Two B's exist, but they are rare. I think that is all, and the pronunciation of B is always pretty standard. So B is a relatively easy letter. Then we move on to P, which is also a relatively easy letter, but slightly more difficult, but not by a lot. So don't panic, not by a lot. So when we have P, we can have P in the beginning of words or the P in the middle of words, and double P's are quite common also in Icelandic, like we mentioned before, pappi, which means a cardboard, or a pappakassi, which means like a cardboard box, but pappakassi can also mean like a man that doesn't have any substance to him. Like, he's just a total pappakassi. It's like, don't even listen to him, or like, he's nobody that you should respect very strongly because there's no substance to him, I think is a fair description. Then also we have another word, like for example, up. So this is the same word as up in English, except for that we write it with two P's. But otherwise the meaning is the same, it just means up. 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 There are many examples of words that start with P or have P in the middle of the word. One example is the verb að skapa, which means to create. And then the combination SP is quite common in Icelandic. SP, for example, spurning, which means a question, and there are many other words that has the combination SP, but the combination SP does not exist in Icelandic, so you will never see this unless it's a composite word, two that meet exactly, one ends with S and the other word starts with P. But for a normal word you will never see the SP combination. Really, there's only one trick I would say about the letter P, and this is when it comes with the letter T. So if the P comes before a T, then it sounds like an F. Okay. I don't know why I didn't make the rules, but this is how we do it. So one example of this is the verb að skipta, and this means to divide. So if you divide something, we use the verb að skipta, and even though it's written with a P, then we don't pronounce P at all, we pronounce it completely like an F. So my lips will not meet each other, you will just do skipta. Skipta, there's no P. You never say skipta. It sounds weird, and to the point that it will not always be understood completely. So we say just an F, skipta. This also corresponds to words that maybe started with a normal P sound, like the verb að kaupa, which means to buy. But another grammatical form or another conjugation of kaupa is keypt, written as I said here below. And even though it's still written with P, because P was in the original word, when we have T coming directly after P, now we pronounce it as an F. So, að kaupa, ég hef keypt. No P, just an F. Keypt. But I think this rule is fairly universal, so it hopefully shouldn't be too difficult. So just to summarize, B and P are fairly easy, fairly standard, they don't really change so much. Just remember that double B is fairly uncommon, and B in the middle of the word usually means that it's a composite word. Then when it comes to P, you can have it all version in the beginning, in the end, 1, 2, everything goes. But if you have P in front of a T, always, or at least almost always, we will pronounce it as F. Skipta, keypt. That's it. Now you know both B and P. Here are 6 words that you might have never seen in Icelandic, so now I'm going to ask you to try and see if you can pronounce them on your own. Just press the pause button and take all the time that you need. Now I'm going to assume that you already tried. I think it's very good if you try yourself, but now I'm going to give you the answer. The first word is skip, and this means a boat. Að labba is an informal way to say the verb to walk. Viðskipti, viðskipti. This means business. Viðskipti. Then we see a word that you might recognize because it's pretty much the same in all languages, but in Icelandic we pronounce it usually as September. So with an F instead of the P, we say September. September. Then we have two verbs, að búa, which means to live, and then að púa, and að púa means to boo, like if you're at a sports game and you boo on somebody, or if you boo on a politician or something like this, is what in Icelandic we call að púa. The last exercise of today is the same as always. I'm going to ask you to try and see if you remember how to pronounce the words that we discussed in this lesson, and try to see if you remember the meaning of any of them. Press the pause button and take all the time that you need. Now I'm going to assume that you already did this and help you along. Bar means a bar, like where you buy alcohol. Par means a pair of something or a couple, like romantic couple. Pabbi means dad, while pappi means cardboard. Then we have pappakassi, which means a cardboard box or a very unimpressive man. Samband, this means a relationship. Að byrja means to begin. Að brjóta means to break. Upp means up. The verb að skapa means to create. Spurning means a question. And the verb að kaupa means to buy. Then finally we have the phrase ég hef keypt, which means I have bought. Thank you very much and see you in the next lesson. Bless, bless.